What's up, VL AP Statistics students? Mr. Bachman here, and this is your Week 7, Day 1 video. And our main topic is just AP review. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of information on that Unit 7 summative. That'll be kind of the last summative of the quarter. A little bit about the AP exam, what's coming up. Give you some AP resources. We'll get into a question of the day that will help us review. And then I'm giving my students that are in person some review time just to work on AP problems. So I'll kind of give you that time as well. And that'll be it. All right. Unit 7 summative that's coming up. It is Schoology based, 50 summative points. It's 10 multiple choice questions. It covers T-intervals and T-tests, both one sample and two, okay, which includes the paired data. So make sure that you are prepared for that. And you need to have that done by Wednesday, June 2nd by 3 p.m. So those of you that are seniors, that will be the day before your last day of school. All right, if you are taking the in-person AP exam, you do need to be in the library by 11:30 a.m. at Central. You want to bring a couple of number 2 pencils, some blue or black ink pens, as well as a graphing calculator. If you do need a graphing calculator, please send me an email and I can arrange for that if you're doing the in-person exam. If you are doing the digital exam, remember that's Thursday, June 10th, so that'll be after the week after you all finish school. I'll talk a little bit more about this, but you do have to sign in online by 2:30 p.m. And then kind of the rest of the school year, the way it's looking, we're going to just do AP review this week, and then week 8, again, will be a little bit more review leading up to June 3rd, the last day for seniors. All right, then a little bit with assignments. So what I'm going to do here, I know many of you are taking the digital AP exam. So I want you to be prepared for that. So I'm just giving you, it's kind of an easy assignment here, but you need to download the digital exam app. And the way you're going to complete this assignment is if you are taking the digital AP exam on June 10th, you need to go to this website. So if you just basically go through AP Classroom, there's a link on there. But otherwise, you can go to download.app.collegeboard.org on your testing computer. So remember, you can't use an iPad. You also have to turn in your iPads prior to the exam. So you do need a computer. So once you have that app installed, I need you to take a screenshot and submit to Schoology. That's all you have to do. I just want a little bit of evidence that you have that app downloaded. If you are taking the in-person exam, I just want you to submit a short reflection on how the test went. Then if you did not register for the AP exam, submit a note that says that. So I do want a submission for everybody on this assignment. So if you're doing the digital exam, screenshot the installed app. If you took the in-person exam, short reflection on how the test went. And then if you did not register for the AP exam, submit a note that says that. Okay. A couple things that are due June 1st are the 2014 multiple choice and the 2019 free response. So that's what we started last week and we'll be working on this week as well. You do need to have that Unit 7 assessment. That's June 2nd. And then I'm going to give one more opportunity for some summative extra credit. So I usually do some way at the end of the quarter to make up some summative points. What I want you to do is there's just another set of practice problems that I want you to work on. Again, that's summative extra credit. You can get up to 5 summative extra credit points. And that's also due June 2nd by 3 o'clock. Okay, so that's the assignment schedule. I do have some AP resources here. The first link is the review videos. Those are put out by College Board. I have a link to the formula and tables sheet that you do get to use on the AP exam. And then this is a link to the 2 exam formats, either in person or digital. So please review those. And then here's a little bit more information. I just kind of talked about it, but make sure that you download and installed the testing application. And then the second step for the digital exam is that 1 to 3 days prior to your stats exam, which is on June 10th, you need to download the test into the testing app. And again, that needs to be done 1 to 3 days before the digital exam. So basically, if you do it any time on that week after you're done with school, you should be in good shape. Okay, please email me if you have any questions about the AP exam. I do want to make sure that I get all those questions answered if you do have any. All right. Next up is the question of the day. So I'll read it to you, and then if you want to pause the video, work through it. This is a probability question, which we haven't done in a while, so I wanted you to have a little bit of practice with that. But I'll read through it, and then if you all could just pause the video, work through the problem. This does need to get submitted to Schoology, and then I'll go through the answers after. All right. An aircraft emergency locator transmitter, otherwise known as an ELT, is a device designed to transmit a signal in case of a crash. The AltaGauge Manufacturing Company makes 80% of the ELTs, and the Bryant Company makes 20% of them. The ELTs made by AltaGauge have a 4% rate of defects, and the Bryant ELTs have a 6% rate of defects. All right, so AltaGauge has kind of a bigger market share and also has a lower defect rate. All right, so number 1 says, make a tree diagram that represents the scenario. Number 2, if an ELT is randomly selected from the general population of all ELTs, find the probability that it was made by AltaGauge and is defective. And number 3, if a randomly selected ELT is then tested and found defective, find the probability that it was made by AltaGauge. Okay, so again, make sure that when you're doing this, you're using good probability notation, so like the capital P, uppercase P with parentheses, so make sure you're using that probability notation. Make sure you're showing your calculations on these. And yeah, all right, good luck. Pause the video, work through it, and then come on back for the solution. All right, welcome back. All right, tree diagram for the scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to let the first level of the tree diagram represent the company that produced the ELT. So remember, it's either AltaGauge or Bryant. So we have A and B. We know that 80% of the ELTs are made by AltaGauge. So I'm going to make that 0.8. Remember, the probabilities go on the branches, and the events go at the bottom of the branches. So 0.2 and 0.8. And then remember, it's either the ELT is either going to be defective, so D for defective, or not defective. So I'm going to use not D and not D. And then same thing for Bryant. It's either defective or not defective. Okay, and then what we can do is we can put in probabilities then of the second level of the tree diagram. So if we know the ELT came from AltaGauge, the probability of it being defective goes right here. Okay, so let's go back and see what that number was. So it says that ELTs made by AltaGauge have a 4% rate of defects, right? And then the corresponding probability for Bryant is 6%. Okay, so let's add those numbers onto our tree diagram. So the defective rate for AltaGauge was 0.044%, so that's going to be 0.04. The 0.06 was the defect rate for Bryant, and that's going to go here. And then using the complement rule, I then know that this probability would be 0.96, right? The complement of 0.04, and then this probability would be 0.94. All right, so if I were asked to make a tree diagram for this scenario, that would be a good tree diagram. Again, I have the events at the bottom of the branches and the probabilities on the branches. Okay, so then number 2 says, if an ELT is randomly selected from the general population of all ELTs, find the probability that it was made by AltaGauge and is defective. Okay, so if I think about how to notate that probability, I want the probability that it is from AltaGauge and defective. Okay, so that's how I would notate that, is the probability of A and D, or the intersection of A and D. Okay, so then if you have a tree diagram, it's pretty easy to calculate that probability. We just go down, and this branch of the tree diagram would represent all the ELTs that are from AltiGauge and defective. And if we have our tree diagram set up, we can just multiply right down the branch of the tree. And this is really using the general multiplication rule. So I'm taking 0.8 times 0.04. So if I multiply those two numbers together, I get 0.032. So that means that 3.2% of all ELTs both came from AltiGauge and were defective. Okay, so now let's look at number 3. If a randomly selected ELT is then tested and found to be defective, find the probability that it was made by AltiGauge. So this one's a little bit different. So now it's telling you, if we know that the ELT was defective, what's the probability that it came from AltiGauge? Okay, so again, let's start with our notation. So our notation here needs to indicate that this is a conditional probability. The condition is that we know that the ELT is defective. So I'm going to put in my little conditional probability bar there, and my condition is D. So remember, the condition comes after the bar. And then I want to know, so then I know, I want to figure out then, if I know it's defective, what's the probability it came from AltiGauge? So this is the probability of A given D. All right, and what I like to do is to calculate a probability, conditional probability, I am going to use like the conditional probability formula. So if we want the probability of A given D, it's a fraction. The top, or the numerator of the fraction, is the AND probability, A and D. And then the denominator of the fraction is just the probability of the condition, the probability of D in this case. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate this now. So we already know the numerator, A and D. That is 0.032. I just calculated that in number 2. Now I want to know what's the probability of D. So what I have to do is I have to go to my tree diagram, and I need the outcomes that result in a defective ELT. So this is 1, right? That is kind of terminates in a defective ELT. And then here is the other outcome that results in a defective ELT. So since there's 2 ways to get a defective ELT, right? This way and this way, right? I'm saying and, so that means I need to calculate both of those 2 probabilities individually, and then I need to add those 2 together. So I know that the probability of this event, right, that's that 0.32. So on the bottom of my fraction, this is going to be 0.032. And then to that, I need to add the probability of B and D. Well, B and D is going to be 0.2 times 0.06, right? Kind of calculating that the same way I calculated A and D in number 2. All right, so then so my numerator is that, and then my denominator, I'm going to put all of that into my calculator, and I end up with 0.044. So just the probability of a defective ELT is about 4.4%. Okay, so then I'm going to divide those 2 numbers, and that leaves me with a probability of 0.727. So that tells me that if I find a defective ELT, there's about a 72-73% chance that that came from AltiGauge. So even though AltiGauge has a smaller defect rate, they own a lot more of the market share. So that's going to tell me that if I do find a defective one, more likely than not, it's going to have come from AltiGauge. Okay, so that is just a little bit of review about probability. These tree diagrams, remember, are really helpful, especially when you're dealing with conditional probabilities like we were in number 3. Okay, so make sure that you have your answer corrected. Get that submitted to Schoology, please. Okay, so what I'm going to do with my in-person students is give some work time on the 2014 multiple choice and the 2019 free response questions. You do have access to the answers There's an answer document for the multiple choice questions, and then there's also scoring guidelines for the free response questions. So please utilize those resources as you are working through those problems on your own. And as I've already mentioned a few times, this is due June 1st by 3 p.m. Okay, and then here is just your asynchronous work for the week. I already showed this slide, but I just want to hit it again. First thing is make sure you get that digital exam app downloaded if you're doing that digital exam. If you aren't doing the digital exam, remember I have some different requirements for you. Right, these problems we'll be working on in class today and during the day 2 lesson. You have that assessment to take care of, and then I do have some extra AP exam practice for extra credit that you all can work on. Okay, so if you need any help or if you want to review some stuff with me, please jump into my office hours, 8:30 to 9:30 each day, or please send me an email if you need help with anything. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.